Alright guys, welcome to another 3 Knees Down episode. Today we're going to be disassembling the last season's race bike. So it's the Motobacan 51V, and we're going to break it down, do a repair session in this series, and assess what sort of damage and things that we can improve for next season on the bike. So let's start taking it apart and seeing where things are broken and what we can fix. Alright, so it's important to do these disassemblies, especially on a race bike, and a bike as complicated as the one that I race with. And you want to do this disassembly to assess all the damage that you have, tear down your engine at least once a season, and just see what's going on with your bike and what you can do to improve it or just keep it maintained for next season. So to start off, we'll just remove the fairings from the bike. That way we can get a clear picture of the engine. And removing the radiator hoses, and I'd already drained out the radiator at this point for storage for the winter, but drain it out, get the radiator out of the way, and start to remove the lower fairing bracket. It has seen better days and it definitely needs some repair, so let's get that out of the way. Now, if you've never seen a single variated engine, the way it works is the variator is on the left and the pulley system is on the right. This pulley system has a clutch inside of it. The variator does not. So as the engine increases in RPM, these variator cheeks squeeze and move in, which in turn moves the belt and moves the engine closer to the pulley, hence the single variated nature of the bike. And as the engine moves, there's a ball joint which allows the exhaust to bend, and there's a spring which acts as tension to push against the engine. So we can see here with the belt how this sort of looks like. Engine moves back, the belt is a fixed length, and the only thing that's squeezing is the variator cheeks. So, simple explanation. Here we're just going to remove the chain and get the chain off so that we can remove the pulley. And this pulley system that I'm using is the Doppler clutch pulley, and I've run the outside part of it with a little roller bearing. So just going to remove the roller bearing and take off the pulley off of the shaft. Now I'm going to remove the engine spring. Remember, this is the engine spring which acts as tension against the engine itself, allowing the variator to drop down in RPMs effectively when the speed is low. So we'll take that off. And also take off the exhaust pivot joint. This allows the exhaust to move at the same angle as the engine when the engine is swinging. So we need to remove these bolts, or this one bolt, and we'll be able to get the exhaust off very easily. Now it's just a matter of taking off the springs from the engine connecting the exhaust. And there we go. Exhaust out of the way. There's only one pivot point on the engine that the engine is mounted to, so we just remove this nut and we'll be able to remove the engine off of the frame. Before we go and drop the engine off of the frame, we need to disconnect the fuel line. This is a quick disconnect, and I highly recommend these if you're just running a straight fuel line through with no fuel on and off switch. And along with that, we need to remove the carburetor, or we can just take off the top of the carburetor as I'm doing here. And just let that sit off to the side. remove the overflow fuel line. So there's only a few pieces left to remove, which would be the connection to the launch lever and the spark plug boot. So with those last pieces off and disconnecting the CDI as well, we can remove the engine from the frame. Alright, so we have the engine removed out of the bike, and now we can fully assess how much abuse this bike has taken throughout the season. So we'll go in and take apart the pulley system. This has clutches in it, so we're going to change out the clutches, and actually I think I changed out these clutches specifically already, so the only thing we'll have to do is sand it down and just give everything else a re-greasing over. The pump should be all fine. The hoses all looked good, so there was no need to change that. The fairing bar has seen better days, and actually because of that little crash that I had during the wet on the last race, our engine mount tab is a little bit bent, so we're gonna have to go in and make sure that the engine mounts are actually in line and straight. I don't care too much about the tabbing, I can just bend that back, but we have to make sure that the frame is still straight. So we'll go in and do some measurements and whack everything back into shape. On the to-do list, we're going to get a bigger radiator. This radiator has been alright, but it's a little too small for the application, so we're going to change that out. All the electronics are good, except for the Trailtech Vapor, so it got a little dinged up, I guess, from vibration, and it acts a little funky, so we're going to replace that. Our Woodcraft handlebars, fan-freaking-tastic, survived several crashes actually, and did good with sliding, so kept the bike in good shape so that way we can still use it for next season. On the to-do list is to fix the fork and fork seals and fork boots. So we're gonna have to disassemble the forks, and I believe that's it for that. The fairing, especially the lower fairing, is really banged up, so we're gonna go in and fix that up too. So we'll do a whole episode on fiberglass repair and maybe some painting and vinyl wrapping. So look forward to that. And the engine. Yes, the engine. So I didn't want to fit the entire engine disassembly into this video, otherwise it would be really long. I'm going to split this into two segments. Next part, you're going to see the entire engine disassembly. So thanks for watching, and see you guys in part 2.